And this will be live on YouTube. So there we go. It's still setting up, but it'll be any second. All right. All right, Lydia, can you see us?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yep, here we go.
All right, there we go. I see us now. Okay, excellent. All right. Wow, it seems like forever. We haven't done a podcast in a month or two, Lydia, since your last one. Yeah, so here we are. We're back, everybody. Welcome back to Everything Horses and More. You know who I am, your host, Caroline Best of the Tao of Horsemanship. You know who my lovely co-host is, Lydia Primavera. And we have another Lydia. And Lydia, how do you pronounce your last name? Kuleshnyk?
Kuleshnyk. So it's pretty simple. Kuleshnyk.
Okay. Well, welcome, Lydia Kuleshnyk. Welcome, welcome. And for all of you that are not familiar with our guest speaker today, she is also called Lady Apona. And where did you get that name? Why don't you give us a nice introduction?
Sure, absolutely. So I was guided to have a name through my horses, and Lady Apona is I think the Celtic horse goddess. Are you guys familiar with the lineage
Yes.
of Lady Apona? I think she's the Celtic horse goddess. But then I was guided to have an A instead of an E. So Apona Healing Arts was my original name 25 years ago for my holistic health business. And then as I did more and more healing work with horses, I had messages to use Lady Apona with an A. So it's all good. E or A is all related to the spiritual essence of horses.
Beautiful. Oh, I love that. I love that. So that brings me back to today's topic. We're going to be talking about co-creating with the divine and the divinity of horses. And this is also a chapter that you've recently written in is it a book series that you're a part of, or just a collaboration?
Well, both. The second book, Evolving on Purpose, Co-Creating with the Divine, arose out of the first book, Evolving on Purpose, Mindful Ancestors Paving the Way for Future Generations, with the amazing Katie Carey of Soulful Valley Publishing. So I was very honored to be a co-author in both books. And my chapter in this book is discussing the divinity of horses and how, as we evolve on purpose and we co-create with the divine, we have this beautiful opportunity to do so with horses, who I consider to be very highly evolved spiritual beings.
Yes, absolutely. Could not agree more. It's just wonderful to have you as a guest speaker to speak about so many of the things that we believe. Lydia Primavera and I especially, and a lot of my audience and my students are obviously totally into this. And you know a little bit about me too, Lydia. So you know what I do is more than just horsemanship by far. So this is beautiful. And your book is coming out. Where can people find you? Like, I know they can go to your Apona with an A, AponaHealingRanch.com.
The book's coming out August 30th on Amazon, and people can find me on my personal Facebook page, Lady Apona or Lydia Kuleshnyk, and also AponaHealing.com, again with an A, AponaHealing.com. Where I share all of my pathways for personal development, and healing with horses is one of those pathways.
Yes, and it's also a sanctuary, isn't it? So you rescue horses to help heal the world. I think that's your tagline. Yes, yep. And so it's a horse sanctuary and healing center. And where are you located?
In beautiful Rideau Lakes, Ontario, Canada. And it's a very special area. There are vortices of energy in the area with crystals growing out of the Canadian Shield. So when people come to visit, the first thing that they feel is a sense of peace and connection. And oftentimes when I've brought horses here who may have had ailments, who weren't at their best, people would say, "Oh, you'll never get that horse, to your farm." but they make it here, and then something about the land, immediately they start to heal. So I was guided here in dreams, and my relationship with horses began in the spirit world with dreams. So I wasn't a person who yearned to be with horses. I loved all animals and horses. But horses started coming to me in dreams when I was healing from my chronic illnesses. And I was told I was a sister of horses long before I actually started having relationship with horses in the material world. And it was about 10 years after those dreams that my first rescue horse, Trigger, came to me in dreams and started my whole journey, helping horses in need, rescuing horses from slaughter, helping horses heal, and then cultivating that relationship of unconditional love with humans and horses.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, horses are amazing. So share with us on so many levels, on such a holistic level, spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical. So go ahead and share with all of us exactly what, so people can come to you and experience your healing center, and what are the different ways that what do you offer, like the different?
Well, we offer healing retreats with and without horses. And so people can come here and just enjoy the beauty of the horses grazing in the pastures, and have their own private retreat. They can have their own just a vacation rental. The area has lots of tourist attractions and natural heritage sites. We're close to Ottawa, the capital of Ontario, and Kingston, with a lot of Canadian heritage features. And we have lakes and everything around us. So some people come just for a vacation getaway.
It's a destination.
And other people come for a private healing retreat. We offer group and corporate healing retreats as well. And then other people come to have a direct relationship healing with horses at our equine healing retreats. And our equine healing retreats focus on basically meditating with the horses, standing in stillness, silence, and cultivating presence, so that our experience with the horses helps us connect to our own essence and activates what needs to be activated for our own healing.
That's pretty profound. So how did your own healing, talk to us? I mean, talk to me, tell us all anything you want. This is open. I don't necessarily have to lead the conversation, anything that comes up, but your personal journey, like you said, you weren't exactly, starstruck with horses. You loved all animals, but they came to you in dreams because you were going through a healing process yourself. So how have horses helped you personally?
Well, it all began when I was around 10 years old, and I was chronically ill from birth. I was born with very difficult to diagnose chronic health conditions. And at the age of 10, I read The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. And I found it in our little country schoolhouse where I was going to school. And I studied that like a Bible. And I decided
At the age of 10?
Yeah, at the age of 10, I decided
Wow.
I didn't come to the earth to be half alive. I wanted to be fully healthy, whole, free. And I didn't want to be struggling with chronic pain, chronic illness. And I always looked out the window into nature, wanting to be in nature. And I did get out in nature. When you have a chronic health condition, you're not always bedridden. But it was a struggle. It was a struggle to participate, to be consistently showing up, for things. And so that was when nature, animals, horses started coming to me in dreams. And we did have a couple of horses when I was very young. So I was connected with them to some degree at that time. And so it wasn't my first time with horses wasn't when I was an adult. But horses started coming to me as pillars of white light, and other spirit guides as well, from the age of 10 onward. So I started cultivating that relationship with horses at that age. And then they actually guided me to the modalities that would heal me, because my condition was so difficult to treat and diagnose medically, and doctors just didn't really know what to do. I was guided in
Can I
dreams.
ask? Yeah, can I ask what your symptoms were?
Oh, sure. I was
what were
born
you?
with deformed organs that led to quite severe and chronic digestive and disorders. So it always affected me physically, but not so much mentally or emotionally. I just always knew that I would heal. And it took me till about the age of 30, from the time I was born to the age of 30, to completely heal more than my condition, but we call it in holistic healing our constitution. So I actually was able to change what I was born with, and be able to function at a very high level. And it was the greatest gift ever in my life, because now I know what I need to support myself. And as long as I utilize those tools, then I really have a limitless life. And
This is powerful. The word constitution is really powerful. Can you talk a little bit more about that to our audience? I'm very aware of what that means and the power of it, but I don't know how many other people realize how empowered they can become when they understand how they can change the constitution of their genetic makeup, of things can just totally, the whole evolution. So can you talk to us a little bit more about what you mean by that and how it happened for you?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to be a basic functional person. So that that was my goal. And in the journey to just be able to eat and not feel sick after I ate, and to have energy and to not have chronic pain, I came across, and I was guided by horses and spirit guides, to Reiki, energy healing, and macrobiotic healing foods. And then, of course, the third pillar is self-reflection, or we might call it coaching, right? Self-coaching or holistic counseling and coaching. And so with those three modalities, and then later when I was an adult, I got introduced to Bikram yoga. And so those four modalities are now my foundational pillars. But in that journey, I had to go so deep in order to achieve what I wanted to achieve. So for me to be a basic functional person, I had to heal at a very deep level. And as you said, change the DNA, change the constitution.
The cellular.
The cellular level, exactly. And I had so many dreams guiding me about that. And the interesting thing about dreams is they don't give you 100% of the answer. I mean, sometimes they're very direct. Like I was told to go see Michio Kushi, the macrobiotic forefather in Boston. And I was told to do Reiki, but all the details you still have to figure out, because they're spirit guides. They're not spirit doers. You're here for your own journey.
It's your own journey. That's your personal journey. It's like they can, it's like with my work, it's like I can give you the answers, I can give you the steps, but you have to experience it and make it your own for it to really work. So,
well, absolutely. And that's our self-empowerment. So now when I work with clients with chronic health conditions, and for the last 25 years, I've been guided to do that, I say your chronic health condition is your gateway to your lasting empowerment, because the more challenging it is, the deeper into your constitution, you might say, or your relationship with yourself, you will go. And so it's the greatest gift to have the greatest challenge if you want that journey, because you will know yourself, and greater than any other opportunity that could come your way. And then you will find the inner ease beyond confidence of being, and you won't live in fear. You won't doubt yourself, because you'll have cultivated such a strong relationship with yourself that you don't question, and you're not easily influenced by others. That's what I call, you discern and deflect. the external stressors. And again, horses are masters of holding that presence, of creating that sacred space, and teaching you how to discern and deflect those external influences or stressors that you don't want. But getting back to your original question about the Constitution, these modalities that I was guided to, when done in a comprehensive way, with great consistency and commitment, will go very deep and affect you at the very cellular level. So you will transform into a higher state of being.
Yes, that's that whole holistic process, holistic journey and holistic process. Yeah, it's amazing. That is powerful. So many things are coming to mind listening to you. That's it for most people. I can't speak for myself because I'm a definite risk taker. My problem is I have to think before I'm ready to do sometimes. And in my wisdom, I've gotten better at discerning time. There was another time that I might be able to do it, but I don't have to just jump after it and go for it all the time. But a lot of people are really held back, as I'm sure you know. It's scary, trusting the process, trusting you, trusting the process. What am I going to find out? What am I, we all, I'm going to speak for everyone. We all have some layer or layers of damage or trauma. And trauma, when I used to talk about this in the very beginning of my work, I would shock my clients, my students, because they're like, I don't have any trauma. I wasn't abused. And I'm like, trauma doesn't have to be that big. It doesn't have to be abuse. Trauma can show up in so many forms. And when it's consistent trauma, that's when it starts to shape our behaviors, our coping mechanisms. And all of a sudden you wake up one day and why am I with this person? Or why am I in this situation? Or why does this keep happening to me? And then you start asking those questions, and it's like, well, what happened to you? I think we can all trace so much of this back to early childhood and our formative years, if not going back, if you believe, and we do. I don't know, I'm assuming you do too, Lidia, but I know Lydia Primavera and I believe in past lives. And I've talked a lot about that in my other podcasts about, not just reincarnation, but what do you bring, from your ancestors just in your DNA, which is evidence, that's the science, but and not just in your personality and your temperament, but sometimes the things that we go through in life, why does this keep happening? Or, it's very deep, it's very deep. So in your experience, helping people on such, like you said, comprehensive and deep level, it's such a holistic level of helping people, how easy or challenging has it been for you to get them to trust the process, to make that commitment, because it is such a commitment to change, to evolve?
Well, each person has to be ready, and each person is where they're at. And so, again, to bring the horses into the equation, horses are masters of meeting you where you're at. And as a holistic coach and counselor, I also meet people where they're at. So if somebody's ready to go very deep, then my Apona healing method, where we utilize reiki, macrobiotic healing foods, and holistic coaching, has created phenomenal results for clients, including helping them fully resolve serious chronic health conditions like cancer, like advanced cancer. And I support any modality that somebody wants to engage in and bring in. So I am usually part of somebody's team for their healing. And so many people will incorporate conventional medicine and other practices. And then my Apona healing method of the reiki, macrobiotic healing foods, and the holistic coaching are part of that, integrated into it. But for somebody who's really ready to do deep transformative healing, that's one of my greatest passions. And then I'll work with them 5-6 days a week, sometimes twice a day, to help them get to that next level. So whether it's, recovering to the point where they're able to eat and walk again and move.
Wow.
I've worked with clients with a month to live, 3 months to live, a year to live, and they fully recovered, or whether they're still having, enjoyment in life and quality of life, but they want to get to the next level, then doing deep healing is a phenomenal fast track to get to where you want to go. And I have, again, as I was saying, my own journey, I have absolutely no doubt about what I happen to offer because I lived it. I lived those modalities, and know 100% that the potential is there for anybody who wants to do deep transformative healing.
That's exciting. That's such a turn on for me, because there's so many practitioners out there, which is great, practicing others' methods, getting certified. We all need that. That's beautiful. But you walk the walk, you've actually been there and you've found what works, combining these modalities works phenomenal. That's beautiful. And I know Lydia, I'm kind of checking too, Lydia Primavera, to see if there's any questions anybody has. And right now we don't have any questions, but what, hon?
I said not so far. Good.
Yeah, not so far. So for our audience, Lydia, could you give us some case studies? We love stories and we love good stories, positive endings.
With horses or humans, or I have 25
Whatever.
years.
Share some things that just pop into your head, right now, that just share some stories with us.
Sure. Well, I've always been guided, and I had a previous career actually, which I really loved, as an international environmental policy analyst and writing climate change policy. And I was also a trained therapist. So when I was healing and I was guided to do this work, I continued to meet people, in this case, clients, that I was meant to help and who were meant to be my teacher, because every person we meet is our teacher, and we expand who we are and our knowledge and our wisdom through every person. And so one of my very first clients, when I was transitioning careers, you might say, and coming out of my deep cocoon of healing, he had been given, I think it was 2 months to live, and he had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I met him in the hospital. He had been referred to me, and I didn't have a website. I didn't have a business card, and I wasn't even sure if I was going to keep doing healing work. So I kept thinking I'll just get back to my other career that I loved as well, right? And that's the beautiful thing. If we talk about co-creating with the divine, is that you end up having more choices of what you love, rather than when I was a kid being, the expression, the lesser of two evils to choose from, right? Now we have the better of all the goods to choose from. So yeah. I was in transition, not sure if I was going to stay in the healing arts or go back. And I was referred to this wonderful gentleman, and I met him in the hospital, and he interviewed me. And he was so ill that when he spoke, he would have blood coming out of his mouth. And so I went to his house, and they set up a bed for him basically to pass away in. And we started doing Reiki every single day, and went up to 2-hour sessions a day. And then when he was able to eat, I introduced very gentle but very effective macrobiotic medicinal drinks so that he could swallow and start to get nutrition in. And within, I think it was four months, I have to think back at my notes, but he was tumor-free and cancer-free.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you, this is what angers me about some of our science and our healthcare systems. There's so much alternative medicine that can heal, and it's become such a big money pit, a money people are they just want to sell you something, and, a prescription, a Band-Aid. For when you got to heal from the inside out, really heal from the inside out on all these levels. Wow, that is profound.
Well, this is what deep healing is. So when you're doing Reiki, you're adding energy directly into the cells in the body. It's an infusion of universal energy. And many years ago, scientists determined, I think it's 4 times the amount now, that there were 100 billion stars in our Milky Way galaxy. So planets like our sun, and then 100 billion galaxies in our universe. And our Milky Way galaxy is one of the smaller ones. So we have access to minimal 100 billion times 100 billion sources of energy for us to transform ourselves, for us to heal. And it's just a matter of shifting that mindset and then bringing ourselves into alignment, and then we'll be able to channel that energy. So when I channel energy, that's the energy that I channel. And I have what we call Taoist non-attachment. I'm not attached to it. I'm just an empty vessel, and allow that energy to flow through me. And I don't try to heal anybody. Each person is an energetic being who is going to absorb the energy that they need, because I'm not forcing it on them. Their body decides where the energy goes to some degree. Like we'll place our hands over a tumor or somewhere, and then they have the complete experience of being empowered, of healing themselves. With Reiki, we're just adding energy to enhance and facilitate the natural functions of the body and the connection of mind, body, spirit. And we don't always have to, because this is based on universal principles, like everything is energy and yin and yang principles. You don't have to believe in it, and you don't have to be interested in personal development. So this gentleman that I'm discussing as a case study, he didn't really have any interest in personal development, and he still healed, right? Because you can't. It's the laws of physics. It's the laws of the universe. Our mind, we're evolving on the planet from an intellectually based paradigm to a holistic, integrated mind, body, spirit paradigm. And as much as mindset is great, and I've worked with mindset, as I mentioned, since the age of 10, we are greater than our intellect. So when we can access and be in alignment with ancient universal principles, and in this case, the Reiki flowing through will be absorbed, whether you believe it or not, then the potential for transformation, healing, and achieving your high state of being is limitless, really. And it's easy. Like we have an inner ease in the transformation, even though the broader experience may be challenging.
Yes, I think that's where the horse for me, and I'm sure you'd say yes too, but I'm not going to speak for you. That's where the horse comes in as such an amazing healer, in an energetic form. It's and I know that, for me personally, working with so many damaged horses in my career, they're and I find this similar to student experiences, but I don't get into anything, obviously, like you do with my students. It's more about the horsemanship, but helping them access this alignment is very similar to you. But they have to be, like you said, they have to be open. They have to have the right mindset. They've got to believe in it a little bit. And at least the horse has been such a wonderful conduit for them to believe, at least, well, I want it so bad with my horse, sharing that energy, and that allowing the horse to guide me, or at least create, if the horse is in a healthy space, the horse itself will create the space. Like when students come to study here with me, my herd is healthy, and they're out with my whole herd. Which is now half of what it used to be, but it's still 5 or 6 horses. And to have that energetic feeling, and Lydia, you and your husband experienced that, where, the horse is free to choose whoever they want. and do whatever type of meditation or healing or whatever work. And you know, it's always it's amazing when I'm working in a group because of how the horses will shift. You know, one horse will go to one person, it will leave, and it'll go to another person, and everybody is feeling, it's like a shapeshifter. But you've got to be healthy to be able to either be a conduit or a medium or channel that energy, or even be able to, I have found in my experience, and it may be right or wrong, or even to be able to purposefully, you know, guide that energy. You've got to come from a place of well-being and abundance. And it just seems like so many horses are so depleted, like people, you know, they're so depleted and wounded and damaged and suffer until, you know, they're heard or given a voice, a chance. Because I don't know if that sounds familiar to you.
Yeah,
especially with your
Lydia,
family.
Lydia, would you like to comment on that?
I was just going to say that they do a hell of a balancing act without us doing it. You know, like we don't even have to know the horse. We might just the horse to say hi, and all of a sudden they are balancing us in one way or another through their energy, their heart, because we know Zor backed up to my right hip, my sciatica leg, right, and stayed there and just kind of moved in a nice rocking motion. His ass is the size of a Volkswagen, folks. So
he's massive,
when he
massive draft.
Because I was standing on the picnic table, and I thought he's going to push me off the picnic table, but he very gently backed up to my hip, his hip to my hip, and balanced it. And then I had no sciatic pain for about 2 weeks. I could feel my foot again, the bottom of my foot, because it goes numb anyway. So I feel like they do know it or like it, or, you know, like they offer a gift, and if your body's ready for it, it'll just take it.
Yeah.
And we also can do that as well. We are just taught from the day we go to school how not to do those things.
Well, we're up here. We're so up here. Yeah.
I held outside of a greenhouse, right? Mama was in the house, in the greenhouse watering, and I'm sitting on a sack of soil looking at the baby for the first time, and she can recognize my voice, but she's never seen me before. I can tell she's looking at me like, I know you. That's what you look like, right? Because I have stood next to her mother and talked to her mother about happy plants and things like that. So she recognized me. As soon as her mom started moving back toward her, before she even came out of the greenhouse, she started to look that way and know her mom was coming. And we take that away from them. We take that away from them in education wise, right? That baby knew her mama was coming. I didn't tell her your mama's coming. I didn't know. She knew she could feel her mama energy, right? And so she started looking, and then pretty soon mama's right there going, hi. Yeah. It's just beautiful what you do. Thank you.
Well, it's a time of expanding awareness. And, you know, as long as we can breathe, then when we're with the horses, there's an opportunity to shift. And as you say, so many horses are depleted and in need of their own healing because they come here as angelic beings to share their light, sometimes in the darkest of places, sometimes with the most difficult people. And they too can become depleted, but it's never for naught, because it's the strongest of souls that will go into the darkest of places to shine the light. And there is always transformation that's happening, even if the channeler, whether it's humans or horses, then becomes depleted. And that's why it's so important at this time in our evolution to create more sanctuaries for horses, to remember that we are in the presence of divine spiritual beings who have come to this planet to be pillars of light for those around them and for the planet, to create a template of high vibration frequency to help everything
Alignment. Yes.
shift.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely. God, that's perfect. Yep.
and
Yes.
so how do we do that? Well, we first, as I was saying, shift our awareness and begin to view horses not as slaves, not as toys and not as food, but as high spiritual beings who have always helped humanity. Humans could not have evolved to where we are today without the really engaged support of horses. I mean, look what they have done for us, fighting through wars, through the transportation and agriculture industries. We still measure things in horsepower. And the least we can do now is to honor them.
Absolutely. Beautifully put.
In honoring them, we start to honor ourselves. So yeah, sometimes it's important to bring self-respect, self-awareness, self-worth to the horses, because we're more engaged with them, right? In a more expansive, integrated, spiritual way. But it can work in the other way too, right? That when we start to see the horses as our divine angels who are here to help us and support us in every way, then we value ourselves more. When we honor the divinity in others, we begin to honor the divinity within ourselves. And each person has a unique experience of what that means to them. And that's how it's meant to be. So when we're co-creating with the divine, literally humans and horses have been doing this for centuries. Now we're just becoming conscious of what we're doing and shifting, as I was saying, that awareness to value and honor horses for just who they are. And I am so supportive of creating sanctuaries for horses where they can shine where they can heal and they can shine their light, and people can come and heal with them.
Yes, and that brings me to, that's beautiful. We can all create a sanctuary just in our way of being with our horse in our daily interactions. I mean, for those of us that can't afford to travel or can't afford to have a horse sanctuary because it's expensive, you need funding too to help all these horses that you're saving. I used to have a rescue. Most of all my horses are rescue horses that I've rehabilitated. But the point is we all can create that. We can create that space for ourselves to heal, and we can create it to heal with our horses. And our horses naturally, so do we, but we're so, as Lidia was saying, we're so turned off from that. From as children, we have innocence, we are untapped reservoir of intuition until we make that nasty pilgrimage into, I call it nasty because it changes everything, pilgrimage into puberty. And then all of a sudden we're aware of everything and we worry about everything and we're self-conscious. And so we leave that innocence and we leave that, God, that innocence. I know that a lot of children are messed up and damaged too, but we still have an innocence about us and a capability to listen to our intuition, and that is our voice until it gets up here in our head, through puberty. And for any of us, for anybody that is yearning to heal, it can begin like where, if they can't come to you, they can't come to me. What can we give them in the rest of this podcast that can help them, heal at home with nature, with their animals, with their horses. And the horse is an amazing vehicle for healing, even if they need to be healed themselves. That's part of the work that I teach, is creating that sacred space for these abused horses so that when they're ready, they will be able to open up and gravitate towards that energetic field that I teach as well, that energetic field through the chakra system, especially the heart chakra, the heart math, for them to align with our frequency, even though their frequency is so much bigger, but when they're scared and depleted and not trusting, we've got to create that energetic space for them to connect to. And so what would your advice be for those of us that, don't have the money to travel, to come see you, come see me? What would you say to them?
Well, there's a few things. First of all, we're all telepathic, and horses are telepathic. So horses first came to me in dreams. I didn't have horses in my life, and I certainly wasn't in a financial position to have horses back then. And yet horses were healing me in my dreams, and I was developing a beautiful, lasting relationship with the divinity of horses just by being sick in my bed. So there are multiple ways that we can connect with intuition.
You were manifesting, you were thinking, the power of intention about horses, even though you didn't have one and you were sick. Is that what you're saying? That you would just open yourself up to dream about them, to open up that pathway, that portal to think and feel of horses?
Well, you could do that. I didn't even think of horses. I just fall asleep, and then they came to me. I had no even intention. I was just an empty vessel. But that's a beautiful exercise that people can connect with. There's art. You can connect with horses through art therapy as well. But in my chapter, The Divinity of Horses, in the book that we were talking about, Evolving on Purpose, Co-Creating with the Divine, I outlined 7 steps to help you find purpose and fulfillment through co-creating with the divine. So would you like me to share those?
Well, I don't know if you want, I don't want you to share all of them. We need to buy your book.
Oh, no, that's okay. There's lots of other things in the book. There's lots of other things in the book. So I'll read the chapter. I'll read the paragraph. Sorry?
Yes, excellent.
I'll read the paragraph, and then I'll just walk through 7 simple steps where anybody, anywhere, whatever condition they're in, can start to connect with their intuition, their own divinity, and co-create with the divine. And we can bring in the energy and spirit of horses if we want to do that. So in my chapter, I talk about how a special horse trigger came to me in dreams to rescue him from slaughter, and my journey of my own personal growth and healing in being able to do so, because I really didn't understand what was going on and the seriousness, a life and death situation for him. So I wrote, I had listened to the messages. I honored the urgency of my spirit and took aligned actions. I felt the fullness of my emotions. I centered in my power. I embraced faith and inner knowing. And in so doing, I was guided to the high spiritual being who would heal me as much as I would heal him. And so the 7 steps out of that are, as I think we've covered most of them, but we'll bring it together, is first to be open and listen. Listen to the messages from the divine world. They're all around us. Whether you keep seeing, let's say, an animal on the TV screen, or you keep hearing a thought repeated over and over, we have messages around us that are speaking to us. So we want to listen. The second step.
So this is great. Yeah, hold on. I'm going to give an example. Lydia Primavera, you and I talked about this in one of our podcasts, I think earlier this year, or maybe so snails, one of my totem animals right now. It's been for a while. And we've never had an explosion of snails here ever until this past year. And now more than ever, I see snails everywhere. They're on the screen of my lanai to my pool. Screen. What are you doing in the heat? You see them slithering and leaving their mucus all over my back porch. They're everywhere, but they're only at my house They're not in my guest house, and I don't see them in my barns. I only see them in my house. And every time I go out, which is every day throughout, I'm always outside, right? I'm watering plants, I'm doing this, the cats, the horses, I see them. And every time I see them, I literally pause for a second or a few, because it's so striking to me. It resonates. And I remember the message of that specific totem animal. So that, I think, is a great example for people, because we've had our audience before go, well, I don't know what that means. I don't know how to be open to receive those messages. And you're saying, look for like I say, look for the patterns. When you see the same animal or the same color or the same flower, it's a message that's coming. It may not always be the same. For me, it has. Sometimes it's got to hit me over the head, right?
Well, absolutely, absolutely. And one of the ways to help us shift our mindset around listening is the second step, is to honor and value the messages. So they are as important as what you place importance to other things. Yes. So when we shift our relationship with the spirit world, then we start to value and honor the messages. So now you value and honor seeing the snail because you've had experiences with seeing the patterns that are messages, right?
And it makes sense. It makes total sense. And the more I see them, the more I'm reminded even more now to be patient, to wait, to persevere. And it is powerful. It's in perfect alignment with where I am in so many places in my life. Work, personal, everything. Yeah, it's really powerful. It does give you a sense of ease and peace because I don't question it. And you could argue with people that don't believe in this, but it feels right and I don't question it. And the more I listen to it, the more aligned I feel and I become with my path, where my path is right now, or what I'm supposed to be listening to and being guided by.
Well, this is magnificent. Alignment, I mean, is the greatest gift we can give ourselves. Alignment of body, mind, spirit, alignment of our energy, alignment of our vision, of our passion and purpose and mission aligned with our essence. Alignment is a magnificent illustration of co-creating with the divine. So thank you for sharing that. And then the third step in co-creating with the divine is to feel the fullness of your emotions when you see, when you hear the messages, and as you value them, you'll feel it. What emotion is being brought up? Sometimes it's so powerful, people want to deny it, or they want to repress it, or they want to, oh, that's just silly, that's just silly. But allow yourself, as you were saying, that sacred space within yourself. Nobody is going to watch. Nobody's knowing what's going on in your head. To feel the emotion of listening to the messages and honoring and valuing the messages and the connection to your spirit. So these 7 steps are helping us cultivate relationship with our deeper self, which is our ultimate empowerment. It's our ultimate,
yes, our higher self. Our higher self, absolutely. So that alignment is the key word here. And so I'm just going to dive in a little bit more to help anybody out there. What do you mean? Listen, I can hear the audience because we've had these questions before, because I've talked about this myself in my own personal experiences in a different way, of course. But it's like if you don't know how to listen to the message, you need to create the space. You need to give yourself the time. So when you start to recognize that, wow, I keep seeing the same thing, or why does this keep happening? The next step for me would be to start not just paying attention to it, but giving yourself time to sit with it and allow yourself to just have, like, it's kind of like brainstorming when you write. Just allow those free thoughts to come in. You may not understand them. You may not understand the words, but you're also looking for patterns. So if the same words come in, the same feelings come in, the same thoughts come in, the same emotions come in, then that's the message. So it's I hope I'm helping with a little bit of a roadmap. How do you find out what the message is? You've got to open yourself up to just hearing whatever comes, and then start looking at the patterns of, what I just said. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's magnificent. And the key when you're first getting connected with all of this is to not judge yourself, don't discount any message, because nobody else hears the message or feels the emotion. It's all about you. Yes. It's all about uncovering and discovering who you really are. And in that sacred space of self-reflection, it doesn't have to be a big meditation session. It could be when you're driving to the grocery store, and you're just processing out, I saw that snail again. Or when one of my soulmate horses ascended, there was a white praying mantis on her grave. And then occasionally I see a white praying mantis on the farm. And
I've chilled.
Yeah. And that's like the guys couldn't believe it. They said, we never see a white praying mantis. Or I went for a walk, and we have a little area called the Buddha Grove on the property that has a beautiful vortex of energy in the rocks of the Canadian Shield and trees. And there was a white praying mantis. And so 30 years ago, I would be like, oh, there's that praying mantis again. I wonder if that's related. And now I feel the fullness of the emotion. It's like, oh, that's her. Like,
yes,
this is,
yes.
And you never feel alone again.
That's God. I hear you. I get it. It is amazing. Wow.
So
thank you. Yeah.
So all of that. So we don't want to judge when it starts coming through. We have our training wheels, in the beginning, and we just play with it. You just play with it, and you don't have to share it. You can just journal, you can just make notes. You can just, make those connections in your head when you're doing something else. Of course, we all know when you're cleaning the stables is the best time to meditate.
Yes.
And if you're not around horses, then whatever it is that you do, right? To
could be walking, could be a walk. Yeah, I mean, it's just being in that zone, if you can be in that zone just for a few seconds, and you're open. You totally open yourself up to this, you guys. So like you said, it doesn't have to be in a deep meditative. Yeah.
No, it can be in the flow of your day that you start to connect with the messages, with your energy, with how you're feeling, with your emotions. And then so those are the first 3 steps to get introduced to co-creating with the divine. And then when you feel comfortable with that, the 4th step is to center in that power that you're creating for yourself, in that essence that you're feeling, and connect with the clarity. So the example that I just gave with the praying mantis is that I'm very clear now that when I see a white praying mantis, which is pretty rare on the property, I know it's my beloved horse who's with me. So I'm very clear about that. But whatever clarity, whatever message, whatever emotion is coming up, just remember it. Right? That's sometimes just enough to remember that. And then the fifth step is embrace the faith in that. Embrace the faith in your inner knowing that you are, every human being on the planet is like a horse. They're a highly evolved spiritual being, right? We are, each person, you are a highly evolved spiritual being. And we live beyond this physical form in our energy, our frequency, and our consciousness. So it's okay to embrace that in the material form and have faith and inner knowing in your inner knowing, which is the cultivation of your intuition, right? And then as you get more comfortable, then the 6th step is to actually take aligned actions. So whatever it is, the message that you're taking, in the emotion that you're feeling, the clarity around what it is that you're being guided about or to or whatever, then take some sort of action. I mean, it can just be an acknowledgement. It could be a prayer. In my case with Trigger, I had to get myself together to rescue this horse from slaughter. Like I had to, you know, we had our barn. Our farm wasn't set up. We had to run. I had to do some reno in the barn. I had to get, and I had no money, and I had just got a line of credit, like my first line of credit. So I used my line of credit. I'm not suggesting people go into debt, but it was the tool that was given to me to save Trigger. You know, so I took aligned actions, you know, and then after that, then trust. So the 7th step is to trust in the journey that you're on, and become aware that you are creating miracles unbeknownst to yourself. You know, so every time we're in alignment and we're radiating out our beautiful essence and aura, our light and energy, there are miracles being created somewhere in the world that we don't even know about. And to value and honor the fact that you are doing this. You can do this from a hospital bed, right? We can co-create with the divine in any condition, in any circumstance. And I remember reading about the book Black Beauty, and that the author of the book, she wrote it when she was dying. Is that correct? When she was very frail.
You know, I don't know anything about that, but I know the book. Oh my gosh.
And her mother, I just remember reading this on the internet, and her mother was a writer and I guess transcribed it. And she passed away shortly after the book was published, but I think she saw the success of the book. And Black Beauty changed the entire awareness around carriage horses and the treatment of carriage horses. She probably
I used to cry. I couldn't read that book. Yeah, I cried too much as a young kid. I just couldn't handle it. But yes, it did. It
in that last paragraph of Black Beauty, I will burst into tears right now. You know, when she says when he says, as he awakes from sleeping, he remembers when he was under the apple tree with his friend. This is an example of co-creating with the divine. So she was sick. The author, if the story is correct, she was sick in bed, and she probably heard the messages from the perspective of a horse. Black Beauty is written from the horse's perspective. Yes. And then she had someone help her transcribe it, and she changed the world as she was dying.
Beautiful.
And so this is the power of co-creating with the divine, that you are already a divine being, and the horses are divine beings, as are other beings on the planet. Yes. And we're all here to co-create, to create a peace and paradise on earth again. And I always say there is no insignificant action. There's no insignificant action or thought, right? We can all contribute in whatever way we're able and whatever way we're guided to in the moment.
Yes. Wow. Wow. What a pleasure. Thank you. That was magnificent. I can't wait to buy your book. That was beautiful. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
I just want to remind everybody that nature never lies, but people do. Nature will never tell you a dishonest thing.
Well, that's exactly one of my ancient universal principles I've supported clients with coaching over 25 years is energy never lies. You can't fool Mother Nature.
Yeah, no.
Very similar. Energy never lies.
Yeah.
You can't fool Mother Nature.
I have one more point I
Very,
want to bring
yeah.
up because it's the way, maybe
Yes.
why I see the two of you came together, but you have 7 principles. And they align with Caroline's 7 principles that we just did. Remember the diagram of the horse and the human and the I know, I
Yes.
see, I feel, I am.
We are one. Yep.
Yeah, all of
Yes.
they
Thank you,
line up.
Lydia.
They're in
Yes.
different order. They're in different order, but they're the same.
Here we
Yeah.
are. We're
Yeah.
co-creating.
Well,
Yes,
and
we are.
I think that the horse delivers messages to us in different ways so we can get to more people.
Yes.
100%.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I love it. You're on it. Oh, this is beautiful. Wow. Well, I'm buzzing. My 7th, 8th chakra is buzzing. So I'm on a high, vibrant frequency right now. I'm surprised I didn't shut my, right, Lydia, I'm surprised I didn't shut down the internet like I can do. But well, thank you, Lydia. Thank you so much for being our beautiful, wonderful guest. Oh my gosh. And is there anything else you'd like to leave us with before we sign off?
I just want to thank both of you. It's an honor and true pleasure to meet you all and to connect with you and to celebrate and honor horses as our best friends, as our spirit guides, to honor the divinity of horses. And a couple of my favorite quotes that I like to share are, ask not what horses can do for you, but what you can do for horses. And also, if humans loved horses the way horses love humans, we would have peace on earth. So thank you so much.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love those. That's perfect. Namaste and thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Yay.
Well, that wraps up our podcast. I don't have any podcast for the future yet. So I'm so glad you Charlotte emailed me, Lydia, and you guys came into our lives. We are all so much better off for it. Thank you. What a blessing you are. Thank you. I hope we do another podcast. I'd love to do more. Our audience loves.
Yes, let's do a series.
Yes, would love it. So just get up with me when you have time, because this is the kind of, right, Lydia, this is the kind of conversation that our audience loves. They love these type of podcasts, all the spiritual and divinity and horses and connecting. And this is wonderful. Okay. All right. Mwah. Signing off.
Love. Thank you so much. Well, we'll be in touch.
Likewise.
Thank you so much.
Yes, we will. Okay. Bye, everybody.